Have you ever looked at your bank account and closed the app before reading the balance? Have you ever seen an envelope in your mailbox and already knew you didn't have the strength to open it? Have you ever smiled at the people you love, telling them everything's fine, while quietly wondering how much longer you could keep pretending? If you answered yes to any of those questions, this story is for you. Because today isn't really about debt. It's about something much heavier. Shame. The kind of shame that convinces good people to carry impossible burdens in complete silence. Before we begin, I want you to hear something. You are not weak, you are not irresponsible, and you are certainly not the only person who has ever felt trapped by money. Every day, millions of ordinary people wake up carrying the same secret. They go to work, they laugh, they take care of their families, and all the while, they're hiding a part of their lives that no one else can see. If stories like this remind you that hope can begin with one honest choice, subscribe to One Brave Choice. Every week, we share stories about ordinary people who believed there was no way out until one brave choice changed everything. Stay with me until the end. Because what changed Michael Carter's life wasn't a higher salary. It wasn't winning the lottery. It wasn't paying off every debt. It was finding the courage to stop hiding. Michael Carter was 55 years old. For 26 years, he had worked as a maintenance technician for the same apartment complex just outside Columbus, Ohio. Every morning, before most of the residents had finished their first cup of coffee, Michael was already walking the property with his worn leather toolbox. He repaired broken faucets, replaced burned-out light bulbs, fixed doors that no longer closed properly. If a pipe burst in the middle of the night, people called Michael. If the heating stopped during winter, people called Michael. If an elderly resident couldn't carry groceries upstairs, Michael was already there before anyone asked. Everyone knew him as the man who could fix almost anything. Reliable, patient, quiet. The kind of man people trusted without thinking twice. What no one knew was that the one thing Michael could no longer repair was waiting for him every evening inside his own home. It didn't begin with a disaster. There was no single moment that changed everything. No dramatic phone call, no sudden collapse. It started the way so many financial struggles do. One unexpected expense, then another. His truck needed major repairs. A few months later, Emily, his daughter, needed help paying for the final certification that would allow her to become a teacher. Michael never hesitated. He wanted her future to be brighter than his own. Then came medical bills. Insurance covered part of them, not all. Every decision made sense. Every dollar was spent on someone he loved. Every time he reached for his credit card, he told himself the same thing. Just one more week, and he'd catch up. One more week, and over time would cover the difference. One more week, and everything would finally be back to normal. But life doesn't always wait for people to catch up. Another bill arrived, then another. Before long, Michael wasn't using credit to solve emergencies. He was using credit to survive yesterday's emergencies. Still, he believed he could fix it. After all, fixing things was what he had done his entire life. Until one afternoon, a plain white envelope arrived in the mailbox. It wasn't the biggest bill he had ever received. It wasn't even the most urgent. But it was the first one. He couldn't bring himself to open. He stood alone in the kitchen, turning the envelope over in his hands, looking at his name printed on the front, listening to the silence inside the house. Then, without saying a word, he walked into the bedroom, opened the closet, reached toward the top shelf, and placed the unopened envelope inside an old cardboard box. He closed the lid, looked at it for a long moment, then quietly whispered, "Just one more week." At that moment, Michael believed he had hidden one unpaid bill. He had no idea. He had just begun building the prison. He would live inside for the next 7 years. For the first few days, the cardboard box felt almost invisible. It held only one envelope. Michael barely thought about it. Whenever he opened the closet, he saw it sitting quietly on the top shelf, a temporary place. Nothing more. At least, that's what he told himself. Every Friday, he made the same promise. "This weekend, I'll sit down, open every letter, figure everything out." But Friday night became Saturday morning. Saturday became Sunday evening. Monday arrived. The box remained closed. Then another envelope came. This one looked different. Red letters across the front. Final notice. Michael stared at it for nearly a minute. He didn't open it either. It joined the first envelope inside the box. A few weeks later, another one arrived. Then another. Without realizing it, Michael had created a routine. Every afternoon, he stopped by the mailbox on his way home. He looked around before pulling out the mail. Junk advertisements, coupons, a magazine. Then, another envelope he didn't want to see. He no longer carried those letters into the kitchen. He walked straight to the bedroom, opened the closet, lifted the lid, dropped the envelope inside, closed it again. The entire ritual took less than 20 seconds. 20 seconds. That slowly changed the way he lived at work. Nothing seemed different. Residents still greeted him with a smile. Children waved when they saw him driving the maintenance cart. People thanked him for fixing leaking sinks, broken locks, air conditioners, and loose stair railings. Michael smiled. He joked, he listened, he solved everyone's problems. No one noticed that every time his phone vibrated inside his pocket, his heartbeat changed. If the number wasn't familiar, he let it ring. Sometimes it rang twice, sometimes 3 times. Eventually, it stopped. He never listened to the voicemail. The hardest part wasn't the debt. Not yet. It was the waiting. Waiting for another envelope, another phone call, another reminder. Every knock at the front door made him glance through the living room window before answering. Sometimes he pretended he wasn't home. Not because he knew who was outside, because he was afraid of who it might be. Emily noticed small changes. Nothing dramatic, just little things. Her father laughed less than he used to. He no longer talked about taking short fishing trips in the spring. He stopped replacing clothes that had worn out. His favorite work boots were falling apart. Instead of buying new ones, he repaired the old pair again and again. One Sunday afternoon, Emily invited him over for dinner. She had cooked his favorite meal, roast chicken, mashed potatoes, fresh cornbread, the kind of meal that always made Michael smile. This time, he barely touched his plate. His phone vibrated once. He slipped it out of his pocket, looked at the screen, turned it face down beside his glass of water. Emily noticed. She waited until the conversation around the table became quiet, then gently asked, "Dad, is everything okay?" Michael looked up, smiled the same practiced smile he had worn for years. "I'm just tired." Emily nodded. She wanted to believe him. Michael wanted to believe himself. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, he stood alone in the bedroom. The closet door was open. Moonlight came through the window. The cardboard box looked different now, heavier. Not because cardboard weighs more with time,
but because secrets do. Michael rested his hand on the lid. For just a moment, he thought about opening it. He imagined spreading every letter across the bed, calling someone, asking for help, starting over. Instead, he quietly closed the closet door and whispered the same 4 words he had been repeating for months. Just one more week. He still believed he was buying himself time. What he couldn't see was that every week he delayed. The silence was becoming harder to escape. Seasons came and went. Winter turned into spring. Spring became another summer, and little by little, the cardboard box became part of the house. It sat quietly on the top shelf of the closet. Never moved, never mentioned, almost forgotten, almost. Every new envelope disappeared into the same place. Michael never counted them. He didn't need to. He could feel the weight growing every time he lifted the lid. At first, he had hidden the letters because he didn't know what to do. Now, he hid them because opening them felt impossible. There is a difference. One is confusion, the other is fear. Life outside the closet kept moving. Michael still woke up before sunrise, still drove the same old pickup truck to work, still carried the same worn toolbox. Every morning, he unlocked maintenance rooms, checked water heaters, replaced light bulbs, tightened loose railings. People thanked him. They smiled. Some even called him a lifesaver. Michael always answered the same way. Just doing my job. If only they knew, the man who spent every day fixing broken things went home every evening to a life he no longer knew how to repair. The phone rang more often now. Not every call came from a collection agency. Some came from old friends, former co-workers, neighbors. Michael ignored many of those too, because after a while, every ringing phone sounded exactly the same. Every unknown number felt like bad news. And slowly, without meaning to, he began disappearing from his own life. He stopped meeting friends for breakfast after church. He stopped accepting invitations to backyard barbecues. He stopped fishing on Saturday mornings. People assumed he was busy. Michael let them believe that. The truth felt too heavy to explain. One evening, Emily stopped by unexpectedly. She found her father sitting alone on the back porch. The sun was beginning to set. He held a mug of coffee in both hands. The coffee had long gone cold. She sat beside him. Neither of them spoke for a while. Sometimes, the people who love us notice the silence long before they notice the problem. Finally, Emily smiled. "Dad, remember when you used to tell me that every problem has a solution?" Michael smiled back, a small, tired smile. "I remember. Do you still believe that?" He looked out across the yard. The wind moved gently through the trees. For several seconds, he said nothing, then quietly answered, "I want to." Emily nodded. She didn't push. She hugged him before leaving. As she drove away, she couldn't shake the feeling that something inside her father had changed. She just didn't know what. That night, Michael stood in front of the bathroom mirror. The man staring back at him looked older, not because of gray hair or wrinkles, but because carrying shame. Age is a person in ways no mirror can fully show. He splashed water across his face, turned off the light, walked into the bedroom, opened the closet, looked at the cardboard box. For the first time, he almost carried it downstairs. Almost. Instead, he placed one more unopened envelope inside, closed the lid, and whispered the words that had become his prison. Just one more week. But deep inside, Even Michael no longer believed those words, and somewhere in the house, without either of them realizing it, Emily was beginning to notice that her father wasn't hiding bad news anymore. He was hiding himself. Time as a quiet way of bringing hidden things into the light. For Michael, that day arrived on an ordinary Sunday. The kind of Sunday that looked exactly like every other one. He woke up before sunrise, made himself a cup of coffee, watered the small plants on the front porch, then reached for his toolbox. Emily looked up from the kitchen. "Dad, I thought we were having lunch together today." Michael forced a smile. "I just need to stop by work for a little while." She nodded. She had heard those words before. Michael picked up his keys, walked out the front door, and drove away. There was nothing waiting for him at work. No emergency, no broken pipe, no repair order. He simply couldn't bear the thought of sitting across from his daughter, pretending everything was normal. So he drove, through familiar streets, past neighborhoods he had known for years, without music, without destination, without really seeing where he was going. For nearly 2 hours, he kept moving, as if motion itself could postpone the truth. Back at the house, Emily decided to help with a few chores. Her father had been working so much lately. She thought she'd surprise him. She dusted the living room, folded a basket of clean laundry, then carried a stack of blankets into his bedroom. She opened the closet. The top shelf was crowded. Winter coats, old boxes, a fishing rod. As she reached to straighten a blanket, something shifted. A worn cardboard box slid forward. She caught it before it fell. It was heavier than she expected. No label, no markings, just an old box, sealed only by its own weight. She carried it to the bed, lifted the lid. Inside were dozens of unopened envelopes, white, yellow, some with red letters across the front. Final notice, past due, immediate response, required. She didn't read them. She didn't need to. The story was already there, not written in the letters, but in the years they had spent unopened. Emily slowly sat down on the edge of the bed, trying to understand how her father had carried all of this. Without saying a single word, an hour later, Michael pulled into the driveway. The moment he stepped inside, he felt something was different. The house was silent, not peaceful, heavy. He called softly, "Emily." No answer. He walked toward the hallway. The closet door was open. His heart stopped. He turned toward the dining room. The cardboard box sat in the middle of the table, exactly where it had never been. Emily stood beside it. One unopened envelope rested gently in her hands. Michael didn't move. For 7 years, he had imagined this moment. He imagined anger, disappointment, questions he couldn't answer. Instead, Emily looked at him with tears in her eyes. Not because of the money, because of the loneliness. She spoke so quietly. He almost didn't hear her. "Dad, how long have you been carrying this by yourself?" Michael looked at the floor. His lips trembled. For years, he had rehearsed explanations. He had blamed the economy, his truck, medical bills, bad timing. But standing there, none of those things mattered anymore. Finally, he whispered, "I thought, if you knew, you'd stop seeing me as the father you deserved." The room became completely still. Emily walked slowly around the table. She stopped in front of him, reached for his hands, and held them tightly. "Dad, I never needed you to be perfect. I only needed to know when you were hurting." Michael closed his eyes. For the first time in 7 years, he stopped trying to protect his image and allowed himself to tell the truth. He cried, not because of the debt, but because the silence was finally over. That afternoon, the cardboard box stayed exactly where it was, no longer hidden, no longer feared, just sitting quietly in the middle of the table. The bills were still there. The debt was still real. Nothing had been solved. And yet, everything had changed. Because the box had never been the real prison. The silence had. And once the silence was broken, Michael finally realized he wasn't carrying the weight alone anymore.